in search of just a friend, fun, whatever fun means, as long as it's legal, or compassion, it is easy to misunderstand what is really happening. People assume it's about escape or advantage or novelty, but very often it's about relief. Relief from the noise, constant evaluation in a dating market or just life. Relief from feeling that every interaction is a test you didn't agree to take. We discussed that for many years, even before Kevin Samuels' popularity. When Charles Tyler and myself and all of those were making videos. So in many modern societies, just think about this, fellas, especially wealthy ones, love has become loud. It is discussed, analyzed, negotiated. Think about the word I'm using right now, negotiated, compared, measured, and broadcast everywhere. And in all that noise, something quiet gets lost: compassion. Compassion is not excitement. It is not intensity. It is not, how do you say, a stimulus. Compassion is just that, it's ease. So when a man goes overseas, he often discovers something simple. Places where people still speak softly to one another. Oh, we find those places. We find places where the expectations are clearer. Places where affection is not a performance, but we sort of posture. So it's not perfect places, but it got a different swag, a different rhythm about it. And this swag or rhythm matters more than ideology. See, in places where low trust environments are, people sort of hug that themselves. They protect that, they calculate it. Sometimes they assume misunderstanding before understanding. Think about that. But environments where trust still exists by default, and we'll get into that in a second, where the default where people expect cooperation rather than conflict, men often feel something unfamiliar. They feel welcomed, not celebrated, worshiped. Simply, it's just welcomed. If you don't know that feeling, then I can't help you with that. But whatever country you've traveled to, at one point or one time you felt welcomed. And that changes behavior. A man who feels constantly judged becomes defensive. A man who feels constantly tested becomes distant. A man who feels received or loved tends to soften. This dude listens more. He steadies himself. He get himself ready. He becomes more patient. This is why when we talk about travel can change a man, not magically, but situationally. That's why I tell you environment matters. See, it doesn't create character. Sometimes it reveals it when these fellas go overseas. If a man that goes overseas is looking to dominate, he will fail immediately. That's why some of these dudes that bought properties and thought, I'm going to take my money and go over there, and they did it in the wrong manner, they're no longer here with us. RIP to them. But if he goes over there looking to be seen without no protection, right? No needed. And I'm talking about between the men and women. He may finally find a space or country to just breathe when it's not about the negativity. See, there's also a deeper truth that we have to talk about here. As humans, y'all know I talk about this a lot through the years. We sort of bond, not only through desire. I know some fellas go over there for desire. Cool, that's their right. But for the other guys, we bond not only for desire, but through shared vulnerability. And the compassion we hold, it grows better or best. Let me use the word best. I don't want to say better. Where people, I think, are constantly defending their identities. See? So when men travel overseas for compassion, love, desire, many are not rejecting their home culture, their country, right? They just want a place where love still moves downward towards patience, humility, and a chick just being gentle to them, like water. Water does not shout its power, it nourishes quietly, right? It restores what is dried out. And we'll get to that in a second. That's another, let me put a pin right there. And when a man has emotionally been dehydrated, look how powerful this is, what I'm about to say. When they've been emotionally dehydrated, that's when connection has felt transactional instead of human. He will naturally move toward whatever care still flows. See what I'm saying? We're going to connect this to water, my friend. Remember Bruce Lee? Be like water. It can crash or it can flow. Okay, let's get there. And the flowing is not because it's easier, but sort of like it's possibility. And if there's a certain lesson, it's not about geography. Let's just be real. It is this. Whatever love survives where compassion is ordinary, and compassion survives where people are allowed to be human, you got to expect to be impressive. That area is impressive to some men. So sometimes to find that, you got to change your environments, fellas. Not to like go a little, not to rise higher. We don't want to feel like we're better than someone, right? But to finally come low enough to feel peace. Hold on, let me repeat that. Like water, you come low enough to find peace. So let's get into water. Think about water for a minute. Water is everywhere. It don't have to announce itself. It don't have to walk around into a room and demand to be called important. It don't need applause or a title. It don't need a podium. Let me stand up here and talk to you all. Water just does what it does. And what it does is simple. It's also terrifyingly powerful. Just think about that. We'll get into that, what Bruce Lee said. That's the third thing we got to put a pin on. A fourth one. See, water, it always chooses low places. It doesn't fight gravity. It doesn't argue with the universe. It doesn't posture. Think about water. Water always seeks its level. You always hear that throughout the years with those guys trying to sound deep, or those women. See, water goes down. It goes under. Water travels where nobody is looking. And that exactly is why it wins. Because, well, a lot of people spend their lives trying to be higher. Water becomes powerful by staying lower. Look at us. We want evaluation. Not evaluation. I'm using the wrong word. We want to aggrandize. We want, I get it, like an elevator. We want elevation. We want higher status, better income, higher rankings. We want more attention. We want a high number of followers on the internet, higher reputation. We want to be seen up on top of something. We want to be above people, above problems, above criticism, above reality. Even when we say we want peace, we still want to feel above something. We want to be above stress, fear, rejection, or anything ordinary. That's why fellas is complaining about the places that too many fellas have populated. But understand this about water. You don't have to chase above. And I'm using above in quotations because you can't see me on screen. Water's more honest than that. Water teaches you the importance. It teaches you that importance, it don't come from height. I'm 6'7". You think it comes from height? You think I get any privileges because of height? Hell no. It comes from necessity. Because water, it don't have to convince you it matters. See, you can live without jewelry. You can live without audiences or luxury cars, purses, fresh Jordans, but you can't live without water. Just think about that. You can't live without that. And your body knows it. Your body doesn't negotiate about it. Don't. See, in your mind, you're like, yo, do I want to save that to go overseas? See, you negotiate about your trip going overseas. You negotiate about that plane fare. You negotiate about the place and environment that you want to be. Water doesn't do that. It don't need to negotiate. See, when you're having fun in the sun, where do you go? The pool, the beach, the lake, the rivers, the boats, the cruise. Y'all know I mentioned the cruise bros. Even your idea of paradise is surrounded by water. And when you're in the lowest state, what is it? When you're in the lowest state, you dehydrated. There's dehydration. And what happens in dehydration? Just think about that. It's dry mouth. It's dizziness. You got a weak body. Your mind is sort of confused. You start shutting down. So water is there when you're celebrating. It is there when you're about to fall. This ain't symbolism. Y'all say I'm preaching to preach, preacher, church. I'm giving you a lesson. It means water is connected to everything, fellas. Your happiness, your survival at the same time. And that's when I think the thing men and women secretly aspire to be. Even if they don't say it out loud, I think it's this. They want to be undeniable. Hold on, let me repeat that. Y'all know I like to say that. They want to be undeniable. They want to be kind. They want to be that kind of a person that they don't have to beg for a seat at the table. They don't have to chase validity, validation. They don't have to prove their worth every 5 or 6 minutes. They want to be undeniable. But most people try to become undeniable by being loud, seen, or being, yo, I'm up. You know that saying we had years ago? Yo, he up. He up right now. We use that lingo but because we want to be above. Water becomes undeniable another way. It becomes undeniable by being necessary and consistent. Because it has to show up every day. Water can't take no days off. It don't have to have a mood. As people, I got my moods about me. J. Clyde and all of them know. Sometimes you feel like you're going through a midlife crisis. At times you have moods. So again, I apologize for that. That's why I need to take the water, that idea of it. See, water only has one form. That's the part a lot of cats miss. If you, just think about this. If you block water, it doesn't stop, it just goes in another direction. Get that. Woo! Preach, preacher! If you stop water, it goes in a different direction. If you heat it up, it bubbles and rises. If you freeze it, it becomes solid. If you mist it, M-I-S-T, that's the mist I'm talking about, it disappears in the air and comes back later as moisture or rain. Water can be just something that you sip on, or water can be a storm out there and knock you in the face. Water can't be soft enough to wash your baby's hands. And powerful, it can be soft enough to, it can be that. I can't, my fault. But it's powerful enough to carve through steel. Carve through rock. Like a damn plan in its mind. So let me ask this question to the fellas that's listening, that's going to share this on their TikToks, YouTubes, Instagrams, Twitters. The fellas that really want to share them and get fellas to feel while we're doing this. See, that's the issue with a lot of men that's going overseas. They postulate. See, they want to feel up. I don't want to share his content. Who is he? Who he thinks he is, a thinker? He's pseudo. I already know where you're going with your thoughts. But let me say this, right? Make sure you hit the thumbs up. You become easy to offend because your image is the main thing you try to. That's why I always call myself pseudo. Because I don't care about protecting the image. A lot of you become malleable. You're easy to manipulate because attention becomes your oxygen. That gets exhausting because you're always performing for importance. But see, I thought about when Bruce Lee said that because it popped up. I said, water is opposite. Water is the opposite. Water doesn't perform to be important. It is important. Preach, preacher, church. Let me repeat that. Water doesn't have to perform to be important. It's already important. I think water proves that humility is not humiliation. Being low is not like feeling less than. Because a lot of times being low is being wise. Being low is how you keep moving. Because the truth is the lowest place just think about this. The lowest places are the places that are filled first. I want y'all to think about that. So when you're in your low state, just think about that. That's when you get filled up. That's when you get filled up with information. You get filled up with knowledge. You get filled up with rejuvenation. When you're in your lowest state, I've been in my lowest state. I've cussed some people out. I've been angry. I've been on here blasting people for years. That didn't work for me. I'm still going to say what I say. Don't get it twisted in the future, because that might be on my mind at the time. But in my lowest states, I was filled with knowledge, information, with change. So, not the one, now get this, right? I told you, the lowest places get filled first. So just think about this. We talk about Medellin. We talk about places with valleys in California. Mike is in California. So we talk about those places all the time. See, valleys become rivers first. Rivers become lifelines. Lifelines become civilizations. Water teaches you that the person who stays grounded, who is always consistent, who stays useful, who always let things flow, is the one who actually becomes powerful. Not the one who looks high. So if you want to be like water, here's my philosophy. If you want to be like water, I came up with this earlier. Stop trying so hard to be above everybody. Start trying to be undeniable. Simple. Be consistent, be adaptable, be necessary, be calm when you can, and unstoppable when you must. I had to learn that. And when life pulls you down, don't treat it like a disgrace. Don't say, oh, I'm disgraced. I don't walk around after I go through one, after I feel the way I feel. I don't walk around disgraced. You're either going to be my friend or you're not. You're going to be understanding or you're not. We shouldn't have many moments where you and them low say, after a while that gets aggravating. I get it, fellas. You got friends like that. But understand as water goes low and it still reaches everything, that's the damn lesson. That's the lesson. That's the lesson. Because think about this. Let me go on to something else. because there are certain things you might have. Let's talk about this, right? A lot of guys I know that's into traveling or going overseas. Let me read the comments. Hold on. Let me make sure I give props to everybody here. Pat, what up, yo? Mr. Dacus, the navigator. What's up, brother? Jeff, what up? Shout out to Jeffrey577. Salute, brother. Put a pin right there. That's good. Let's go, Yesh. Salute to you, Jeffrey. We all go through life's lessons in different ways, but everyone's whoever met you in real life, we know you're a good brother. Peace always. Shout out to Jeffrey. Salute, brother. Man, that's encouraging. Salute to him, man. Oh, that's definitely encouraging. Man, it brought chill bumps. So let me say this. I don't knock the political system, right? And I understand fellas that go overseas, they get into geopolitics, they get into crypto and all of these different things to further their and I understand that. But politics, you see, is not primarily about solutions, it's about rules. I talked about this right before I came live, right? Every political system is a stage play to me. To me, there are heroes, there's villains, there's victims, there's saviors, experts, there's fools, there's traitors, right? And the strange thing is, the script must go on. Because the moment the problem is truly solved, everything ends. And so do the roles, right? See, now this is a part that people don't like to hear. And I see some people clicked off right now. See, most people don't participate in politics to improve the world. They don't. A lot of them participate to feel located inside it. A lot of these politics that we talk about, they tell you who you're supposed to be angry at. Democrat, Republican, who you're supposed to fear, supposed to cheer for. And think about this. This is the most important thing. Who you are not. It gives the ego a uniform for a lot of these people. It does. Politics is one of the ego's favorite costumes. That's my quote. Let me repeat. Politics are the ego's. Grego, what up, yo? Shout out to Grego in the building. You ain't got to sit there quietly with your own contradictions or notice how little control you actually have, because you don't got a lot. But people that really understand this know, you don't have to face uncertainty. You just have to pick a side. And the side tells you what to think, what to repeat, what to share, and what to be outraged by for that week. Now here's the trick of the game. Each side believes it is the adult in the room. Remember I did that a couple weeks ago, the adult in the room? See, every side believes it has woken up. Y'all know the woke movement. And every side believes that the other side is brainwashed. Which, in my opinion, should make a lot of you suspicious. Because if all of you believe they are awake, someone is clearly dreaming. And I talked about this weeks ago with the Matrix mindset. And everybody's saying, yo, I want to get out the Matrix. I'm getting out the Matrix. I'm like, that's just, you're dreaming. That's a figment. You're still in the Matrix. Anybody that used the term get out the Matrix, that person is still in the Matrix. In my opinion. Again, you don't have to agree with me. I get it. See, power pretends it doesn't know its power. Many citizens pretend they are fully in control, and everyone pretends that the rules are permanent. But the rules change constantly. And a lot of times, people still argue as if they were eternal truths. They go in their mind like, yo, this the end all be all. See, the game feeds on seriousness. Hold on. The game in travel, the game in politics, it feeds on seriousness. I want you to feel like, yo, this is serious. The more seriously you take the symbols, like the flags, the slogans, the titles, the offices, the more real they feel. It's the matrix mindset. And the more control they have over your nervous system. That's why a lot of these political systems, they thrive on your fear, because that tightens your attention. It loosens your perception. You know what fear does? Fear makes a lot of guys and a lot of women, it makes these complex realities feel like it's simple moral cartoons. Good people here, bad people there. That's what I think. But in my opinion, reality, it don't work that way. It doesn't. Reality is crazy, is circular, is ironic, is messy. In any system that claims to have the final resolution for human nature should immediately raise bells in your minds. But to many of you, it doesn't. You remember Diddy years ago, vote or die, and look at him now. Years ago, Diddy was like, vote or die. And I'm looking at this like, yo, this seemed like a clown show. But to people, they really live their lives like this is serious. Look at all of the stuff that's happening right now. Your vote did nothing to stop it. Your vote in the future ain't gonna do nothing to stop it. The oligarchs have all the power. You ain't part of that fray. You don't come down to them bloodlines that have been passed down for thousands of years, hundreds of years. You're not part of that circle. You wasn't in that picture with George Bush, Osama bin Laden, all of them having fun growing up together. It's all a game. Barack Obama, his stepfather, and all of that. When you look at all of this stuff, you know all of this stuff is a game. Now, this doesn't mean apathy. I'm not saying that. See, that's another trap that they try to put you under. See, the opposite of this blind participation is not indifference, it's playful awareness. To see the game without being hypnotized by it, to engage in this when necessary without surrendering. I don't want you guys to just give your all. Don't just surrender your identity to it. And most people most people do. Because once you realize, you stop confusing the score with your soul. Preach, preacher, church. Because once you realize you're in the game, you stop confusing the score with your soul. You can vote without worshiping, criticize without being... Trump just dropped something. let me say that last part though. Let me you criticize because that was very important. What's the word? You criticize without dehumanizing. Trump just dropped something on Truth Social, right? He dropped something where he talked about voter fraud and all this type of stuff in that 1 minute video. Then he dropped Barack Obama and Michelle Obama in monkey bodies, right? And so everybody's in an uproar. Even Scott, Tim Scott, you need to take that down. If Tim Scott telling you to take it down, but see the truth, I'm glad everybody's coming out. What is? Who? Shaka Khan sung it? Who is it? No, it wasn't. Was it Shaka Khan? I'm coming out. And they use that for coming out of the closet. See, to me, you can vote without worshiping, like, again, not dehumanizing yourself. You can care about different things in life without losing yourself. See, here's the quiet truth. No system advertises, right? The most dangerous person to any political machine is not people that's trying to buck back screaming in the street. It ain't that. Protesters and all that. It is the person who can see the pattern and refuses to be emotionally owned by it. Those are the people that are the most dangerous in society. Because they can't be part of the herd. They can't be positioned to have this predictable outrage that they tell you should feel. That's why most people are saying, you got this thing with the FBA and all of this, and people saying, I'm sitting out for this, and the political parties are shocked. They're outraged. So now they have this agenda to say, what is this FBA thing? And it's not a lineage, it's not a lineage. That's what I'm hearing all over my TikTok. I'm like, where did this come from? Now it's the descendants of slaves. They even have Asian people writing articles to go against the people that are descended of slaves. I gotta see it. Y'all gotta look at that on TikTok. It's very, very amusing. Because you think I can change that I'm a descendant of a slave? You think that's a movement? A descendant of a slave just woke up one day and say, I'm part of a movement. Not that it's natural, not that it's a bloodline that comes from turmoil and torture. But again, herd mentality. If you don't be wholeheartedly for anything that they say, because they tell you when you should be triggered and when predictable outrage. You can't be reduced to a slogan. I just talked about water, so let me give water in this analogy, right? There's part of this part of it, right? When I'm talking about politics, right? See, they move like water. Air, responsive, but not rigid. We just talked about water to get to right here where we at now. Immunity from possession. Right here at that point. Immunity from possession. That's the freedom to say, yes, this matters, but it is not me. Like, yeah, I surrender my mind to this garbage. I see that, and therefore, it cannot completely play me. And once all of you see that, you don't stop caring. You just stop being owned. Preach, preach, church. And that's why going overseas, not being understanding sanction a country to try to make that country falter and fall under because they tell other countries, don't do trade with that country. I know you want the spices. I know you want those minerals. But because they don't let us stomp on them, do trade with them, we're going to X you out. That's how they make countries. But when you start traveling and understanding, you don't even need to travel. You can see what these countries who claim they first world does to other countries. They throw little coups and like, yo, y'all really arguing about this? Y'all hate each other because of this? Folks are sitting in their golf carts and laughing. They got the lakefront and just sitting on their porch, watching the sun, pulling the strings, and you guys still fall for this. You hate each other for this. Black hate white, white hate black, all of that. It's crazy. And they do it every day because they surrendered to it. They've surrendered to it. I haven't surrendered to it, so. And this is why you become. So let's get back to travel. I just had to say that because it was pertinent. Because I just want y'all to think about this. If you look far enough back, farther than nations, right? Further than flags and dating apps, you notice something about human beings. We have always paired according to environment. I'm not talking about ideology. I'm not talking about slogans or online arguments. I'm talking about environment. I always talk about it. I've been talking about environment for 10 years or more. See, for thousands of years, men and women have met inside this shared rhythm, shared villages, shared expectations and consequences. Every person who is playing games because the cost of pretending was too damn high. See, when survival is close, people are honest. They're very honest. Life did something unusual. It separated survival from intimacy. Preach, preacher, church. It's something unusual. It separated survival from intimacy. Now you can eat, sleep, earn money, and entertain yourself without ever needing a human being deeply. And we're going to get into love on this one. We're going to get into connection. This is going to be real talk right here because that all changed love. And not morally. That's why I always said this term, you got to buy her affection. In the United States of America, the dating system, TMI, what up, brother? You got to buy her affection. You always heard me say that. I always talked about micro incisions of power. How when you open the door for a woman, it's giving her this power first. I'm this queen, and that ain't your woman. You don't have to do that. You go in first, you hand the door to her. If she doesn't grab it, let the door close on her. It has nothing to do with hate, but America implemented these micro incisions of power toward men, and men fell for it. And then now we see that our actions or activity is not tied to these micro incisions of power. See, love becomes optional. Marriage becomes negotiable. Commitment, that's just straightly a choice instead of necessity. And look what we have now. So you talk about bragging about first world, miss me with that. And when something is optional, people approach it defensively. So let's talk about men traveling overseas again. So we don't want to take this emotionally. I want to build structure around this, right? Not as a fantasy, but I want to put a little pattern on it because this isn't about escape. We're going to put this in context. In the United States of America, especially in 2026, dating, it operates inside of a... Earlier, I talked about loud because everybody on the internet is loud. It's very suspicious. Is she trying to use me for a dinner date? Is he trying to use me for sex? Right? So that's when it becomes comparative. Well, what is he doing? What does men have to do? What does women have to do? And the whole thing is saturated with narratives about who owes whom what. But men have already been on trial. And women, they show up with this armor. And all this came from fear, disappointment, and an abundance of choice. Think about this. When you have infinite options, right? You stop giving it your all. You stop investing. You begin to browse. You do this thing I call hedge. Everybody know hedge, right? And then you keep one foot out the door. I told you, I used to date in the United States of America when I learned to travel overseas. If she breathed wrong, I was gone. One foot out the door. And it was for a reason. So in my opinion, love is negotiable. Just think about the conversations that we having now all over the internet, right? Even if they trying to carry the internet. I ain't got nothing to drink. Man, I got water right here. Always got a bottle of water. Hold on, fella. Good old water. Be like water, my friend. See, think about this. I want y'all to look at the conversation going online right now. Who pays for the date? Who texts first? What does exclusivity mean? Y'all know I love that word. Put it in a lot of my books already. What is marriage really? It means nothing right now. And another question is commitment a trap or a goal, right? Because now they're starting to make it back to a goal because society's having this downturn where economically many people are going to suffer. And this is my first pin in this back to the traffic in a dating in the States talk, right? See, all this negotiation, it drains all that romance faster. And it does it faster than conflict ever can. Think about this, right? I talked about ancient times. I talked about when the women were in villages, they learned how to, in my latest video, go back to that video, really listen and don't listen. I know you got the attention span of a damn fly. I get that, right? I got friends that have attention spans and that's very, very annoying. But we'll talk about this right now, right? Back in the day, women cultivated, they advised, they brought women into relationships and marriages in these different villages or communities or environments. Now we don't see that. Because attraction is just not chemistry, it is ease. Ease comes from shared assumptions. Think about in many places outside the US, dating it still has a directional bias. There's a trajectory, even if the people don't follow it perfectly, but there's a trajectory, there's a path. See, dating is not infinite exploration. It is evaluation for building. Now it's infinite. You'll see people in relationships, you'll say, yeah, I've been with my boyfriend or girlfriend for 8, 9 years. That's first world stuff. You're like, damn. But we lean on assumptions, so we get scared. There's fear there. Because what if you're upwardly mobile? Is she trying to use you? Is she just trying to get money? There was a soccer player. What's the soccer player that put all his money in his mother's name? Y'all remember him? A couple years ago? It went viral. He put all of his money in his mother's name. So she hurry up, had a couple babies by him and divorced him and thought she was going to go to court and bleed him dry or get half. When she realized that his name is Akimi something, she realized like, oh man, I can't get nothing out of this. And what did she do? He divorced her and he bounced. But you know what she did recently as of the end of last year, early this year? She's trying to beg him to come back. You know why? Because he got a brand new contract. They just renewed his contract. He's about to make another $60 million playing soccer. Futebol, as they say in Brazil. So let's get back to that. I just had to mention that. See, how do you expect, or your expectation, both of you? A lot of people relax. See, when you go overseas, the women know what you expect from them, and you know what they expect from you. That's why a lot of guys are going overseas. Whether it's, I get it. Whether it's interaction, whether it's only interaction, right? Well, y'all know what interaction I'm talking about. But that's understood. And it's more understood than, say, trying to overprice themselves unless they stay in a tourist area. That's when we don't want to get into that. But the expectations are aligned, right? See, when people relax, a lot of sincerity, it comes to the surface. When I'm able to relax around you, it comes to the surface. When you go to places you ain't able to, you're going overseas, you on edge. Whether you're trying to dip something in your drink or put something in your food, you go to places like you on edge. It's just a natural occurrence. We can't escape from that. But when you're able to relax, sincerity emerges. And when sincerity emerges, that connection you have with that woman overseas, it deepens. This is why some men feel overseas dating works. Not because women elsewhere are somehow superior. We definitely not saying that. And not because men suddenly became kings, even though they treat you like that. but we know it's an illusion. So don't fall for it, fellas. It's simply because the rules of the game are clearer, and clarity lowers your anxiety, lowers your nervousness, lowers how you feel. And another factor that many don't talk about is identity weighting, weight, size, uh, 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 culmination of pounds or kilograms. That's what I'm talking about as far as weighting. Because in the United States of America, masculinity is measured through visibility, income, status, performance, a lot of optics involved in that. A man becomes more valuable by demonstrating or displaying or proving. And we ain't got time for all that. Nobody got time for that. But in a lot of these other cultures, masculinity is more quiet. You go to Brazil, you see dudes walking, dudes leave other dudes alone. Dudes, ask yourself, why are there now fights? All of these guys know jujitsu out in these places. They know how to defend themselves in Thailand and a lot of these places. But notice the masculinity is quieter. Have you guys noticed that? You didn't, because you really don't take the, you only go there for one thing. So of course you're gonna miss that. So you might not be ready for what I'm about to say. Because a lot of that masculinity is quieter. They leave everybody alone. It's steady. There's steadiness involved in that. Reliability. There's a lot of patience. A lot of family orientation. Y'all see me in these places, whether I'm in Brazil, y'all see me acting a fool out there with family and friends. And I don't even know these people like that, but they become family and friends because they know I'm genuine. See, that's calm authority. Same man, different scoreboard. That's calm authority. Same man, different scoreboard. And when a man is measured on traits like that, which he naturally possesses, but we don't see that in the United States and understand that. So that's why I'm making a juxtaposition. Hear me out. So when a man is measured on those traits, fellas, and Michael says the power that you give ladies in your country, and he does the opposite, he feels quite at home. Explain to you what I go with, the way I go with the people that really acting like he been here for thousands of years and he don't know these people, and these people are embracing him because I feel at home. But there's a part of this that none of you want to admit this, and just tell the truth. Travel don't improve you. It reveals who the hell you are. Let me repeat this. Going overseas don't reveal or improve you. It reveals who the hell you are. Am I wrong? That's why you see these dirt balls going overseas and look what the outcome is. And you guys have secondhand embarrassment because of it. I don't. Because I knew he was a dirt ball in the United States of America. You're going to be a dirt ball overseas. Because a disciplined man becomes more disciplined. A dishonest dirt ball becomes more of a dishonest, dangerous dirt ball overseas. An unserious dude becomes more exposed. You can't outrun yourself with a passport. Church. You cannot outrun yourself with a passport. Ain't happening. And many of y'all relationships fail not because of the culture, because your intentions are off. They've been misaligned. Hold on, let me repeat it. Most overseas don't fail because of their culture. Don't blame it on those people, those women. It's because you got your, they misaligned. One person is dating for marriage or building, the other is dating to escape. Preach, preacher! One of them will think about children and trying to build something. The other is thinking about, yo, how can I get this money in the tip for a box? That ain't romance. That ain't love. There's two stories colliding. Two people collide. Two intentions colliding. So, then money complicates this even further. And it's not automatic when it comes to complications about money. It inevitably will happen because it's inevitable. Because think about this. Just think about this. If you thinking that she's loving you, you doing all this for her, eventually she's going to start saying you need to do for her family. And then she's going to use cost as a way to be dishonest at times. Then, on the other hand, she could be genuine. It's part of her culture. You, on the other hand, are dating to escape. So when the resources are uneven, the power must be handled carefully. If money leads, then the trust follows solely. You be trying to go over there, tip all crazy. You try to go over there and buy the affection of their family. Are you stupid? And I say that respectfully. Because if your character leads, money becomes secondary. We talked about this the other day. We talked about fellas that used to how Tinder changed, right? And the reason why Tinder changed is this was my example, and I stand on this. It was like, yo, Yesh. I said, you know why Tinder changed? I said, because these fellas who never had intentions to go out the country, they flooded Tinder. Flooded Tinder. Just start swiping on everything, what I put in my book. Started swiping on every damn thing. And some of those women in these countries like Brazil, because I was in several relationships in a country like Brazil, non-prostitutes, that's what I'm saying, they were swiping on everything. And they had no intention to visit none of these places. Even now, they do the same shit. Excuse the language. They do the same thing. You'll see these young guys, you see these old, I traveled, older dudes saying, I traveled, man, we did that in 1998. We did that in 2001. Younger guys are saying, maybe one day I'll go there, but let me get on here and pay this little $10 for now. A place like Tinder. So these guys will go to these countries, right? Very few ones. A pillow talk. You heard about this site called Tinder? And again, there's more sites out there, but I'm just using this as an example. And so all of these dudes would do that. They ain't had the resources or finances to go out the country to another 2, 3. which is you get your money up. No problem with that. But they kept saying, yeah, I'm coming to your country. Lying. Some of these countries are 7,000 miles away. Some of them were 4,000, some of them 5,000 miles, some of 2,000. They couldn't even go to a place that's only 800 miles away. They couldn't afford it. But they would get in the way of the fellas that really traveled overseas. And the dudes big this up. You know how they be talking at work with nothing to talk about? They pillow working. They pillow talk working. Because that becomes their significant other during them 8 hours. And they telling foreign women at these jobs, right? Yeah, I got friends, they on Tinder, they met this, they met that. They're women from foreign countries. So these women will call back home and say, yeah, these men are on Tinder. See, I'm a thinker. Preach. And these men would do that even now. They would show these ladies on Tinder, oh, this guy showed me your picture at my job here in America. Or isn't that your cousin? You guys don't believe in this. That right there is the definition of small world. And they'll purposely talk to somebody from Colombia or Panama, or whatever country. Pick a country. Fill it. And so there's co-workers. Sometimes they even send these co-workers the pictures. Think about how many years the fellas have done that toward the traveling fellas. Pillow work talking. And can't even can't be next to that woman that you trying to, from that other, Americanized. You have no chance. And stuff. They even try to down the men that were going overseas. Yeah, I can't believe these guys are doing this. Look what my boy. They're trying to throw dirt on the fellas that travel overseas to the workers in the United States of America that come from these countries. So y'all don't think beyond your gotcha. This is why cats want to talk to me, because I know how to make sense of everything. Most High giving me this gift to break down things with no help. I'm getting off script. I need to. That's why my thought processes is elevating to explain certain things. So I'm getting animated. Let me pull it back. So that happened. All of these guys flooded the internet. All of these guys. It ain't that many men going to these countries for it to have affected Tinder like that. But you know what? The dirt balls or the angry dudes or these red pill idiots, and I call them red pill dummies. These red pill buffoons, these dating coaches who are now overseas, who clown the passport bros at first. They threw shade. They talk to their audience. You just don't. Let me ask you a question. That dating coach crap was flooded all over YouTube. Where is it now? The passport bro movement, the PBs, the Blue Book gentlemen, killed all that. Destroyed all of that dating coach stuff. Now those conversations are obsolete. That red pill stuff is under the shoes of passport bros, under the shoes of traveling. That red pill and dating coach stuff is gum under. And I told you it was going to happen. I foretold this. And they hated my guts. I foretold this. Now you don't hear none of this crap. Now you know what's becoming obsolete? women hating men. All of the women that say, use that man and all that. Have you noticed that those conversations are slowly disappearing also for women? Those conversations are slowly disappearing. But you know where the women are going? You see more videos of women saying, you guys just want to go over there because it's easier. They ain't saying it out of what they used to do a couple years ago, where they said it out of spite, vitriol, anger, frustration, rage. There's sort of this quiet plea in disbelief that this is happening, that men are going overseas. It's like this quiet plea or this quiet begging. But you know, women have more ego than men in 2026. I'm seeing more videos saying guys are really going, and it's grown even larger. So now the disparaging remarks, those videos, they don't get no play. Because I told y'all, once I stopped sharing videos like that, a lot of guys stopped. And I'm not saying I'm the leader of the PBs or guys going overseas. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying my demeanor and how I carry myself. I'm like, yo, it's worthless for sharing those videos. All we doing is, we did what we had to do. We shed light to it. Now let's move differently. So all those videos with dudes showing women, countries are recognizing that. As I mentioned on my last live stream, countries are saying right now, you said you were going in on the dating coaches. Nah, I gave them fellas the business years ago. And now look, the people don't want to hear that stuff about women in the United States of America. You're either going to leave or you're going to date them. You're either going to put your life in jeopardy. Why would I want to put my hands or my life in the hands of some of the most mentally erratic people? Why? Let alone we got to do that with the political parties because they're making the laws and have the power of these government systems. Why would I do that in my everyday life? Think about it. Why would I indulge in that? Never. Why would I put myself in a predicament where I'm going abusive? You never touched that woman. You never did anything to them. But when you have people in a society that want to be perpetual victims, that is the anyone that plays a perpetual victim. I don't care if he travels overseas. I don't care if it's a woman in the United States of America. I don't care if it's your brother or sister. Anyone that plays a perpetual victim, you need to stay away from. So the honorable path is consistency. Consistency is to me, consistency is attractive. I don't care if it's here or over. And this is across languages, all of the borders. I don't care if it's belief systems. Consistency matters. See, by 2026, a lot of these men, unless and many of these women felt unsafe unless they was in control. Micro and citizens of power. So both sides came to this point of being tired. And tired people don't romance well. That's why you see them in a relationship and move on to the next. Tears, there's no music, they move right to the next person. Ain't no romance in that. It's fake. It's fictitious. It's phony. It's futile. Because tired people don't romance well. They do a little protection for themselves and they assume all of these motives that are going to happen in the future. So what looks like incompatibility, I think is exhaustion. A lot of these people are exhausted. And to me, travel feels like a relief to a lot of you people. Because your nervousness, that's why you look at travel the way you do. Your nervous system wants to reset. I said, well, I can't go to this country because I can't reset my nervous system. I can't go to this country because I can't reset. No, your money is just not exclusive enough to go to that same country and be exclusive within that country. Your money's not up there yet. So people will say, yo, you gonna go to I'll go to the DR. But I'll spend an extra $2,000, $3,000 not to be around you. That's called, because my nervous system, all of these years has reset. I don't have to feel a certain type of way in certain areas. There are less narratives. Think United States versus the narratives in Brazil versus the narratives in pick a country. Fill it in. And there's a lot less identity warfare. But you got to think about this. That was going to be kind of temporary until it changes. So to me, the truth is, if you want marriage, if you want love, it thrives where trust is a default, not a reward like the United States. Think about this. Even in business or whatever, a lot of these low trust societies produce contracts. Societies produce collaboration. We back to that day where we was in America, a handshake. But it's never going to get there. Those days are long gone. Because dating in the US, it feels like a legal agreement. Think about this, written by two attorneys who don't trust each other. And really by one attorney, because the men's still trying to say, I need a reset every time they meet a woman, unless they're dealing with dirt balls. Because when you go overseas, it's still like, yo, we sharing this. And they asking straight up, can we build something together? That's the difference. And none of this, I'm not saying none of this excuse bad behavior. Even when you go, you respect their culture and their familiar structures, you're good. Because just because you're overseas, it don't absolve you from responsibility. It grows your responsibility over there. Humans don't fall in love with people. They fall in love with the idea of a future with that person. Because a lot of these future, like, think about this. If you with somebody and your future feels unstable, you begin to hesitate. You sort of pull back. But when you feel like the future's coherent, you're going to commit. When you feel the future's coherent with a woman, that's when fellas feel this coherence overseas. Because that timeline is clearer. The expectations are stronger. In these societies, these environments, that social fabric, right? Or reinforces the seriousness of what you fellas are doing. Others fail because they mistake all this novelty and all of this stuff that we see and say, oh yeah, alignment with what I'm, no, it ain't. So the question ain't, yo, does overseas work for you? That ain't the question. The question is, who does it work for? And in my opinion, a lot of this, from what I'm doing in serious relationships and people that I know from afar, it works for men who know who they are. Delaying gratification. They ain't trying to go over there and dominate. Provide stability without buying affection. And it falls for men who trying to seek validation with, that's why you see, those are dirt balls. It falls for those dudes. Dudes that try to avoid their actions over there. And when they did it, so take responsibility. Still trying to chase attention. And they trying to have this ambiguity. Trying to with purpose. Man, miss me with that. So what we looking like? How many people? Damn, I talked that long. Nobody. I didn't get no cash out. Cool. If I get one, we'll talk about it on the next live. But I enjoy this. I love dropping gems. I want to revisit this conversation tomorrow morning. So we're gonna go in. We're gonna go. Yeah, I know we going in. I want to go in on those old ideology with the dating coaches, and we going in that tomorrow morning. So join me here tomorrow morning, man. Share this stream. Tell them tomorrow I'm gonna be live. We're gonna go in on dating coaches and the red pill ideology, and we're gonna go in depth. Peace.